Danger Dolan. From wearing armoured clothes in certain buildings the currency you're not allowed to step on, we count 15 crazy laws prohibiting you from doing ridiculous things for seemingly no reason. Number 15. A bulletproof vest. In New Jersey, America, it is illegal to wear a bulletproof vest while murdering someone, with the vest specifically referred to as bullet-resistant body armor intended to provide ballistic protection. It's believed the law exists to further discourage people from murdering their fellow man because apparently the threat of life in prison isn't enough anymore. We need to systematically eliminate all clothing associated with acts of murder. Pretty soon it's going to be against the law to rape someone while wearing a helmet. Number 14. Silly String, another one from America, this time in Southington, Connecticut, a 1996 festival that turned into a complete mess. Pranksters went around spraying silly string at police and marching bands and cheerleaders, and it got so bad that the local community went out and legally banned the sale of silly string in shops. Parties and celebrations are now rather drab affairs where everyone has safe, conformist and legally assigned fun where people don't sneak in silly string attacks simply to take the piss. Number 13. Boat ownership. We all know about Hawaii, the isolated island paradise resort, but did you know that if you lived there permanently, you must own and maintain a boat or be legally fined? A lot of the time, people are fined simply because they can't afford a boat, and the fine doesn't exactly teach them a lesson. If you steal another person's boat, you can escape future fines, and if you get caught, you now have a boat to sail away on. It's the perfect system. Number 12. Dying. In Saint-Péray in France, we find a village so against the thought of your death that they've legally forbid it from happening, but only if you don't have a burial plot bought and paid for. Meanwhile, in the Norwegian town of Longyearbyen, you can't die unless you've made plans to get your corpse transported out of town simply because the soil is too cold for bodies to decompose in. So if you are against dying, I highly recommend you move to France or Norway and not organize your funeral. You will pay fines, sure, but that's a small price to pay compared to immortality. Number 11. Landmarks. Rome is absolutely filled with iconic landmarks, but they also have a golden rule. Don't spill your gelato on the Colosseum. It's against the law to eat or drink near any landmark in Rome purely because enforcers got so fed up with idiots spilling their Gatorade all over the Spanish Steps that you now have to shell out several $100s if you even approach one with food in your hands. Also, wouldn't recommend busting out the silly string. They kind of share Connecticut's anxiety. Number 10. Electronic games. It was in Greece around 2002 that video games were banned in internet cafes, mainly to stop online gambling. But it didn't end there. 1 year later, they utterly banned electronic games in all public places of Greece, a blanket ban because they couldn't distinguish between video games and online gambling games. It was written in such a way to keep software engineers and computer developers safe, but since then the law has been suspended. Number 9. Flirting. New York City is one of the central hubs for American society, and it's so lax in law that a woman can legally walk down the street topless if they so choose. What you're not allowed to do though is flirt with people. You can literally flirt with a half-naked woman in the street and it would be you who gets the small fine. But the reality is police officers don't really enforce it, but it's more of a rule to protect people from getting harassed by dodgy flirters than any type of realistic crime. Number 8. Gas pumping. Since around 1949 in New Jersey, it's been illegal to physically get out of your car and pump gas into it. An employee must come do it for you. There are several reasons for this, but most prominently is that it creates jobs, ones that help employ fresh out of school teenagers with some simple work for simple pay. 8 years ago, they attempted to let people get out of their car to pump gas, but people rejected it, claiming they do not want to get out of their car on cold mornings, and it's a cheap convenience, and it helps kids who need work experience. Number 7. Watering grass. It's over in Nova Scotia, Canada, that we find an absolutely insane law. You're not allowed to water the grass when it's raining. This law was created because of water preservation issues, dry spells, and allocating resources without wasting them. The only possible circumstance where this makes sense is if you have a greenhouse and you need to water your personal indoor rainforest. But then, What is a bucket?
Number 6.
Parliament. Ever since the 1300s, a law has existed in the United Kingdom prohibiting weapons in Parliament buildings, which makes sense, but it also prohibits you from wearing suits of armour. King Edward II created this law in an attempt to keep meetings civil, so people wouldn't go all busting into epic duels during the King's speech. That law has not actually been updated since those days, so although you'll be hard pressed to find a politician show up in full battle armor, if they do, then according to official law, they can be arrested.
Number 5.
Currency. In Thailand, if you accidentally drop a coin or note of money and then step on it, you're breaking the law. It's also illegal to criticize the king, and since his face is plastered on all the currency, stepping on money is exactly the same as stepping on the king's face. Foreign currency is okay though, but I would advise you not to step on that money and instead, spend it.
Number 4.
No pants. It's in one of the most poor and hungry countries in the world that we find a law created by crazed government officials in which women and girls are strictly forbidden from wearing pants. It happens in Swaziland, where most citizens don't live to exceed 40 years of age, that women are deemed inferior to men and thus should visually reflect that notion. If a woman or girl is seen in public wearing pants, soldiers immediately rip them off.
Number 3.
A hairdryer. It's in Florida that we find another outrageously specific law, in which women, and only women, who fall asleep under one of these big hairdryers found in a barbershop will be fined. Furthermore, the owner of the hairdresser salon will also be arrested and sentenced to court for allowing a customer to doze off while getting their hair blow dried. If a man falls asleep under it, he's not breaking the law, and if the woman happens to be under the hairdryer for hours but managed to stay awake, once again, no problem. So if someone has a problem with the salon owner, they can just pop a sleeping pill and get them arrested. What an infallible system.
Number 2.
Roadkill. In West Virginia, the roadkill problem is so abundant that the Department of Transportation has issued a law legalizing the scraping up and consumption of dead animals off the side of the road. Not only does this keep the roads clear, but their staff aren't so overworked chasing around the city looking for reports of dead vermin. It also keeps your family from starving because nothing spells tasty like some delicious highway pizza.
Number 1.
Porcupine. Speaking of roadkill, Florida comes in with a piece de resistance. You are not allowed to have sex with a porcupine, because you know how you're just walking down the street, you just happen to get a raging boner and you think, there are no women around. Maybe this spiky rodent will help sate my throbbing desires. And whatever you do, don't go having sex with a porcupine while skateboarding without a license. Oh yes, that is actually a thing in Florida too. That's it for this countdown. And have a good one! Nova Scotia.